Welcome back to the Citizens Defending Freedom show. Coming up today, a CDF investigation reveals a policy that withheld information from parents, plus Senate Bill 7004 and why parents should be aware. All of that and more is ahead on today's show, but first, before we get started, head to our website, citizensdefendingfreedom.com, and hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any of our content. Citizens Defending Freedom recently investigated concerns surrounding the Anna Independent School District in Texas, focusing on a policy that withheld vital information from parents regarding mental health issues related to transgender students. Triggered by a complaint from a mother alleging a violation of her parental rights, the investigation exposed a significant period of time during which her child identified and dressed as the opposite biological sex without parental knowledge. AISD failed to communicate these changes to the parents, neglecting to inform them about the use of preferred pronouns and gender identity naming conventions. This lack of transparency, coupled with the failure to seek parental consent for pronoun usage, name changes, and the concealment of mental health issues, has prompted legal action by parents nationwide. The CDF investigation revealed that before the 2022 school year, AISD adopted a practice of maintaining two records. The permanent record required parental consent, while a non-permanent record was kept seemingly without parental approval. The permanent record includes the student's birth name and assigned sex, while the non-permanent record reflects a name change typically associated with a gender identity transition. On August 11, 2022, AISD leadership reviewed the 2022 version of the Texas Association of School Boards guidance titled Legal Issues Related to Transgender Students. Shortly after, on August 16, 2022, AISD implemented the non-permanent record practice for pronouns and names without parental notice or consent. This likely violated federal law under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act and the Texas Education Code on parental rights and access to student records. The policy violates parental rights under the Texas Education Code, granting parents comprehensive information on their child's school activities, and Section 26.004B, providing access to written records, including counseling and psychological records. The Citizens Defending Freedom investigation indicates that school districts, following TASB guidance on legal issues related to transgender students, are undermining parental rights, potentially violating Texas law when intentionally withholding information. CDF is deeply concerned that other school systems might adopt similar practices, prompting a responsibility to alert parents to a potential threat to their rights and their children's well-being. Citizens Defending Freedom urges all parents to seek clarity on their local Texas school district policies regarding permanent and non-permanent records, especially those related to the concealment of gender identity and other mental health issues that may go undisclosed. Now, have you heard of Senate Bill 7004? Florida State Director for Citizens Defending Freedom, Sarah Calamunci, is here to educate us today. Hi, Sarah. It's great to have you back.
Hi, thank you.
Could you please tell us what is Senate Bill 7004?
Yes. So it is a currently proposed bill. It's been filed leading into our legislative session here in Florida. It's Senate Bill 7004. The title of it, Deregulation of Public Schools, Assessment and Accountability, Instruction and Education Choice. So it is a lengthy bill. It is 52 pages. I printed it out just for you here today. So describing what it is would take far longer than any of us desire. With 52 pages, there's a lot in this bill. But you know what we like to do is comb through this legislation and determine if there are areas that we want to focus on, things that may need to be changed, and I think that's really the purpose of discussing this today.
What is CDF's stance on this bill?
Okay, so currently we're opposed to it. Citizens Defending Freedom works closely with other organizations, specifically Florida Citizens Alliance. They're a wonderful organization that focuses very heavily on education, and they do so really at the legislative level very effectively. And they have organized a group of other like-minded organizations to comb through legislation yearly, to shine light on areas that need improvement, which, is exactly what Citizens Defending Freedom does at the local level. We comb through agendas for school board meetings, for city commission meetings, for county commission meetings, and help shine light on areas that need attention, adjustment, improvement, and share that information with our elected officials. So it's a very similar model from the county level up to the legislative level.
Why should parents be aware and cautious?
So there's a lot of issues that we uncovered within it. There's good things in it, but as it's currently written, one of the most concerning aspects is that throughout grade school there's standards in place to ensure that students are successful. So we have report cards, we have tests that we take, and then in addition to just regular grading within a school's and a teacher's ability or standards, there are state level tests. So here in Florida, we have standardized tests that students take throughout different grades as they advance in the public school system to hopefully complete 12th grade and graduate with a high school diploma. One of those assessments is done in 3rd grade. And with the current standards, if a student does not pass that reading assessment successfully, they are not prepared and in turn not allowed to advance to 4th grade. This bill changes that language a bit so that if a student does not score high enough on that reading assessment, which ultimately means this child is illiterate. They have gotten through kindergarten, they've gone through 1st grade, 2nd grade, and now 3rd grade, and they are not prepared to advance to 4th grade. They cannot read. This legislation, as written, was allowing parents to decide, I want my child to be advanced to 4th grade, even though they're illiterate and cannot read. And that was an area that we saw great concern with and brought attention to. And I think that there's a misunderstanding, a misconception, or a thought that there's some hypocrisy there because we're so concerned about parental rights. Which we are, but there are also regulations and standards in place for advancing through school, and they're there to protect children. And ultimately, that's what we want to ensure, that students are prepared. There's much evidence that shows if a child cannot read by 3rd grade, the likelihood of them being successful and graduating high school or, being productive in society without the ability to read diminishes drastically, and we want students to be prepared.
What is the recent amendment that was filed?
So I'm glad that you brought that up because, as I mentioned earlier, what Citizens Defending Freedom does is, we do our due diligence at the local level. What Florida Citizens Alliance and many other organizations do at the state and legislative level is do their due diligence and point out areas that are of concern. And one of those areas that I just described at length is parents being allowed to advance their students to 4th grade without proper preparation and passing those standards. So just yesterday, an amendment was filed to the bill because we have brought so much attention to this, in partnership with Florida Citizens Alliance and other organizations, allowed our legislators to understand the issues. And that amendment, which, as the bill was 52 pages, the amendment is 14, so I'll summarize it for you so that you don't have to go through all 14 pages, but it is amended to specify retention requirements for students in kindergarten through grade 2. So this is meaning that instead of waiting for 3rd grade to come around, where the student is already, so far gone, ensuring that they're prepared in kindergarten to move to 1st, and in 1st to move to 2nd, and 2nd to move to 3rd, so that they're ready to be prepared for 3rd and advance into 4th. The plan must incorporate the parental notification requirements, include an opportunity for parental input on the retention discussion, so incorporating parents' involvement in retention in grades kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, so that when they get to 3rd, they're prepared. And let's see, let me move on to the next one. Sorry. The parent of any student who exhibits a substantial deficiency in reading must be notified in writing in a timely manner of the following. And these are the steps that must be included. That his or her child has been identified as having substantial deficiency. So we're informing parents, which is something we very much want. A description of the current services, so what's going to be available to the child. A description of the proposed intensive intervention. There needs to be intense intervention for these children so that they're prepared. And finally, that if the child's reading deficiency is not remediated by the end of third grade, the child must be retained. So this is allowing parents to be much more involved, much more engaged, and much more informed leading up to third grade to avoid students not being prepared and parents being caught off guard.
Thank you, Sarah. Before we go, we want to leave you with our inspirational Bible verse of the week. This week's verse is Psalms 34:14. Turn from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. As you can see, Citizens Defending Freedom is doing important work. Help us today in our fight to protect children, help ensure election integrity, and encourage pastors to get engaged. Please visit citizensdefendingfreedom.com where you can learn more about our organization and generously contribute to our cause. Have a great day and make sure to like us on social media and tell your friends about the great things we're doing. God bless.